welcome you to my channel, and I'm glad you have been fine and well, and everything is going on well on your side. If it is not going on well yet, I have courage and belief and hope that if you continue doing what you are doing and becoming patient while you are doing it, you will eventually become successful. It's all what we are trying to do every day, such that we can make it in life. We have looked at several tutorials. We looked at tables, and today we are interested in different examples concerning tables, and it is what we are going to talk about today. Different designs of certain tables. What we are going to focus on is applying. How can we apply what we were studying in the first tutorial of tables, such that we find its relevance? How do that we have studied over time in tables. So we can create a class here. We can call this table 1, no problem. Whatever you want to call it is okay. Then we can say table, then we say table head, and then we can say that tier. Under this tier we can have a th, and then we could create some columns here about that, so we can start filling them in. These will be our rows, rather our fields. You can say first name, or you call them columns, whatever you want. Last name. Then we come to this and we can say stream. So we are going to create some sort of a mark sheet just for one stream. You can then create many if you like. After the table head, then we can look at the table body, and we can also do the same thing. Can set tier here, and then table data. Then we can first copy this, and then we can paste it here. 1 2 3 4 5. Those are 3 4 5. You could even arrange them horizontally, no problem. We can copy these, copy, and then we can create another one here. We can come here and say this one is maybe Tarema. Then we can say Benjamin. Then we can say that this is S4A. Then we could say 90%, and then we can say excellent. We fill in the second person. If this becomes tough for you, you could pause, and or you could rather forward the tutorial and enter these marks or enter this information in your table. I believe you are not just watching, because then that would make no sense. You cannot just watch code and it stays in your head. You've got to practice it every day for you to understand and be able to remember offhand what certain things do and how they are done. So much as this is troublesome, just to know that everything you see, in most cases, someone typed them. Whether you are importing data into a database or a server, someone somewhere typed it, took the time that probably you wouldn't want to take, and typed this stuff. So we could say that then this is good. We can add on another person here. just to make our table look nice, because two people would not make this table look nice. We can say, and then we can say is in S4B. Since those are streams, that is why they are named like that. We could then say that this is 85% and then this is good. We can as well come here and in another person, gender, so the be Ayabare, this can be Gloria, and this can be S4A, 88%, and then good. Wherever you feel tired, you can stop. That is up to you. But like I said, in life there are things you must do, and one of them is something like this. Whether you were to import it somewhere, maybe the secretary of the company typed it in say Excel or Access or Word, and your duty was to simply import it and take it to their database, or import it and upload it on the server, or just upload it on the server. Somehow there was a person who did the typing. So we could then open this and we see what we have. There are no designs yet, so it should just be as it is. Not much will be seen, but at least we shall see the data, the title, and all other column headers. So that is what we have so far. We can start, for example, by saying that we want to go to CSS, and then say we have our class here. It was example 1. I think table 1 here is what we had. We can then say table 1. In table 1 we want to look at the table. We have a table, then we have the table head here. So we could say that the color is say white smoke. We could also, I can zoom this out for more clarity and visibility. We can then say that the background is the RGBA, and we have 68, then we have 1, we have 35, and we have 0.6. We could then add the font size to be 22 pixels, and that is what we shall have, because we are targeting the TH here. That is the color we are applying, and that is how it looks like. We could hover over here and probably try to make it a little conk like this, and then we see how it looks like now. Okay, we can come back to that later. We can say that the same things here, we can copy paste this, and then now we are trying to look at the table data, also inclusive. You could spread them like that. You could put commas in between, doesn't matter much. So we are saying that the border is 1 pixel solid, and we have a right sea green here, solid. We can also say that the border dash collapse, and collapse we say that padding to create space in between the borders and the words themselves. So now we have something that looks like this. We could then go ahead and say that we could say that dot table 1, then if you pick the table and then the table data, the nth child, we had looked at all these are properties we looked at earlier. If this was your first landing on our channel, you need to check out introduction to tables, almost for 40 minutes, above 35 tutorial, that then you can watch, practice, and then come to this, because these are just examples. So you can say background, you want to give it sea green, then we pick the number of columns, and that is what we shall be working on. We can come here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it means we can create, say, 5 different backgrounds. This would be 2, and we can say that the background on 2 should be, say, slate blue. We can say that the background on 3 can be slate gray. We can say that the background on 4 can be, say, pale violet red. We could say that the background on 5 would be, let's say, golden road. Change this to 5. So when we go back, we shall find that each one is having its own color, like this. Then we could say that we could create certain things for the table. Shall come to that, but we could say that maybe when you hover over the table data, that is when we don't want to create a lot of stuff. Table, then td, then we say hover, that when you hover over the table data, we can say background. For wherever you hover, the background on the table data should, let's say, be tomato. So we could have table data. We could even say pick the table, can increase specificity, and that will take over 022 022, and we are sure that when you are hovering over that table, everything will be alright. We shall test all these at the same time, but we could set the parameters, for example, of the whole table and how we would want it, because, for example, right now we would want also our hover effects, we would want the table centered, we might want this text also to be centered and stuff like that. Demarcate it with table width. We could say dot table 1, then table, like this. We can then say width occupy, let's say, 700 pixels. We could also say that margin is auto. This would center it horizontally. We can then say that the text in there should be aligned center. We looked at how you can vertically align text. Border dash radius, we could say maybe 10 pixels. We know that will create some small overflow because of the overflow, we can say hidden, such that overflow is not seen. We could also apply then a box shadow to create some shadow on our table. We can say 00, we can say 15 pixels, and we can use literally almost the same color. Let us see what we have here. We could pick this, but then use other colors. We can first look at what we have as our shadow. Okay, no problem. So this is our hover effect. This is what we have. You could use a margin on the table and push it a little down if you like, but we could also, okay, we can say margin dash top to be, let's say 20 pixels. Could even increase this to, let's say 30. We could come back here and say caption for the table. Can say caption, and then we say math max, where then we can come and say dot table. Then the table, we can pick a caption, and we style it probably the way we would want. Here we are just going to use just some simple styles. We can say color, for example, is blue. We can say that the font size is 25 pixels. We could say that it should be aligned in the center also of the table, and then we can now look at what we have. So this is how our table now looks like. And this is one of the examples where we had to apply almost everything we learned today. You could create yours with the different colors. That one has no problem. You would after all be learning. So the next tutorial will be about Col Span. Then we shall look at other examples of row span, and we shall have mastered many things under tables. So let us look at another example of tables, and in this particular example we are going to focus our energy on what we call a column span. Later we shall also look at a row span. In column span we are going to look at least 2 different examples, such that you can get a proper idea of what we are talking about. You can say dot call for our class, and then we can say table. We are also going to introduce in other elements that you might have not known. One thing you can be sure of is that in creating a table header or table columns or table fields, you could create an empty one just like that. You can create an empty header, it will become a header, but then it will be empty. And this will be important, let's say in creating a timetable. You might need to have these empty headers where there is nothing, or to separate the side of columns and the side of rows, yet all are important. Now another thing that we are going to introduce in is what we call a scope, and we can use a scope to define whether this table head is going to be a row or is going to be a column. As you can see, we have column group, we have row group, we have column, we have row. So we want to describe this to be a column, and then we can say Saturday. Okay, just something small. We could call this Sunday, So this is the normal way we were writing them, but there can be a time when you want to use what we call scope and to define whether a table head can be a row or a column. So for those we want to create them as columns, then we want to create another table row, one that we would use then to populate Saturday and Sunday, and we are also creating th as a table head. We are calling it temperature. So assuming we are trying to create how the weather will be, and this is going, table h would be a table head where we would then use it to make it a column. But like I said, when you use scope, you can create a table head that is then a row, not a column. So we can even open this and you see what we have. Quite amazing stuff. So this is what we have. This would have been, let's say, here or here, but because we have defined its scope as a row, it will sit here, not under any of these, because otherwise that would be TD, but it can sit here as a table row, much as it is also a heading. So inside here we could then create table head, and we can say 45 for example. Then we could say another table head, and then we say 38. So what we are having here is this 35. So this would represent that this is temperature 45 and 38. We could further choose to say that we can look at this and say superscript, something like this, and then in here we can choose to put an O or a 0, and then we can end with this as capital C. So we can choose to design this right there to have a font size, font dash size to be 8 pixels. You will see what we are trying to create. We are trying to create this. We can also then copy this for ease. We paste it here and we change this to, let's say, 38. The rest can be the same, so we shall have 45 degrees and 38 degrees. So with that, we can then head over here with our class .col, and we start looking at how we can beautify this. We can, for example, say that the width is, let's say, 500 pixels. We could then say that background, we can supply an image here, background URL, can say // in the images folder. We use a double dot because we are using a CSS file, so double dots for getting out of the CSS folder, and select this. Then we can pick this gradient. We can say background background dash cover, rather dash size, like this. Then we say cover. We won't mind about positionings. We covered these under images, so please check out our tutorial of images. We can then say margin to be auto. We can say that mean dash width, where that if you have a smaller screen, the size should never go beyond this. Border dash radius. The rest of the things I am adding now, you know why we add them. We need an overflow that is hidden in case there are any pointing stuffs. I think you can see we have margin, also dash bottom. We might not need to color it 3 pixels, just like that. We could then add a small box dash shadow, of the same 00, let's say 15 pixels, and the RGBA of, let's say 68. You can say 68 comma 1 comma 35 comma 0.7. you can remove these to avoid any errors. So when we go back, this is what we shall have. We could expand it more if we wanted. We could deal with the other designs of the colors. We are going to also continue to work on this, and we see what we can have.